What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here. As it's North London Day, we're here to bring you our best North London derby memories. I'm here with my brother yet again. How's it going, Sim?
The weather's keeping up the spirits. That's all we can say at the moment. Nothing else to kind of keep me busy.
Yeah, it would have been a good North London derby day, wouldn't it, today, with that weather?
And man, it's such a shame. The first North London derby, we still haven't had that massive moment at the new stadium. So still holding out on that one because it's going to be. It would have been massive. It would have been mental, the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. It would have
We're
been a
rocking.
big occasion today, the first North London derby ever at the new stadium. But let's talk about some of our memories as Spurs fans. What is your kind of first memory of a North London derby? Not kind of the first game you went to, but like your first memory of a North London derby.
I think the first ever North London derby that I ever watched was that Christian Ziege free kick back in 2002. We drew
Beauty.
1-1 at the Lane. One of the best free kicks I've ever seen to this day. I still can't believe he whipped it in from about 35 yards right into that top corner, seeming absolutely no chance.
Yeah.
I remember that day we were all over Arsenal. I remember that day Arsenal were actually quite a decent side, and Spurs were mid-table team, hadn't finished any higher than I think 7th or 8th about at that time back in 2002. And we gave Arsenal such a game that day, but we ended up sharing the spoils. Casey Keller with a stupid foul on Pires, giving them a penalty. But Spurs at least gave a good account of themselves, and that really gave me a taste for North London derby back then. It would be a while till I actually saw Spurs win one, but at least that gave me a good taste for it.
Yeah, I think if you're at a certain age, I think it took us all a while to see one. But I think throughout that period of what you're talking about, like kind of the late 90s, mid 2000s, and even early 2000, well, not early 2010s, but like 2000s and late 90s, there was often that we would be the better side, but we just couldn't get over that line. It was like Spurs players and fans would be so up for it, and Arsenal would think it's just a walkover. And we would be so up for it and play really well. Suddenly, you just fail at the last hurdle. I just remember so many games. I remember so many times being at White Hart Lane, leading at half time, and just knowing what's going to happen in that second half.
How many times did we draw 1-1 at home in those times? It was about 5 or 6 times we drew 1-1. Whether we got a last-minute equaliser or they did, most of the time it was them equalising. But it was during that period, the North London derby was our season. That was it. Everything was around that game or White Hart Lane because we were never anywhere in the league. Occasionally, back in those days, we got on a cup run, but even then it was quite rare. And it was all about that one game at North London derby. We would really step up our game, we'd really give our all, give our best. And even then, usually Arsenal would usually get a draw, even though they usually underestimated us back then. But up until probably, I would say...
2010, around Danny Rose.
Yeah, I think that was the turning point when we finally got a win. I think that was probably the turning point in the North London derby.
It was, but let's talk about the first time we beat them for a long time, and that was the League Cup semi-final at White Hart Lane under the lights. 5-1.
That was a special night. I remember the year before, obviously, they had knocked us out of the League Cup. It was the kids that beat the Ints, as they famously say.
That was the first time I ever went to the Emirates.
First time?
Yeah.
When Mido scored that equaliser.
Took us extra time. That away end went absolutely bonkers.
I could not go into school for about. I was depressed in school for about 3 weeks after that. After they beat us with their kids, because we gave it our all in those 2 games, and we still couldn't beat their bloody kids with bloody Jeremy Aliadier and these bloody waste men scoring. That was so depressing. I was so upset, but. Finally, the year after, I think we played the Emirates first time round. Genius scored, and they got a lucky late equaliser. I remember.
Was it Walcott?
Yeah, I remember with the handball. He shouldn't be allowed. We battered them that day. I remember, like, surely we're going to go to the lane and batter them. And this time, they actually played a fairly strong team over Arsenal, but we completely wiped the floor with them. And even though it wasn't the most important game for Arsenal, for us, that made everything. To finally beat Arsenal in a game, first time since like 99 or something, we'd beaten them. And to beat them so emphatically as well. And not only that, to go on and win the trophy at the end of the year as well.
Beating Chelsea in the final as well.
Beating Chelsea in the final, that was some special times, and such a shame that bloody Juan de Ramos was our manager back then, because I really wish it went to someone else who had that glory, because the way things that he was like gone down as one of our worst ever Premier League managers. And the fact that he's the one with all the glory is a bit annoying, but at least he has that game against Arsenal to think about, because that really changed a lot for us, I think.
I just remember so many moments, like when you talk about that semi-final and the year before. The year before, I remember in the home leg, I think, was it we were 2-0 up and Julio Baptista got 2 back? Was that right? So we were 2-0 up.
Them at 2-0, and then Berbatov got injured, I remember.
We were 2-0 up at half-time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were 2-0 up at half-time. I go see my friend for a beer at half-time. And we're like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do the Arsenal finally, blah, blah, blah. And obviously what happens. The year after, we're winning at half-time again. And I go see the
2-0, I think. 2-0.
2-0. I go see the same friend. It was Shim. I go see him at half-time for a beer. And both of us just like, oh, not this again. And little did we know what was coming after that in that second half. Not only that, Arsenal players started getting in fights with each other.
I remember, they Adebayor and Bentner, I remember, got in a big fight on the pitch. And didn't someone end up with a bloody nose? Am I right in saying that? I can't remember.
That I don't remember.
There was something serious went on between Bentner and Adebayor. Bentner scored an own goal in that game as well.
Yeah.
It was just so sweet, and what's it called? Even in that game, I remember we were 4-0 up, and Adebayor gets a goal back with like 15 minutes to go. You're thinking, no, come on. Like, come on, Spurs. And then Arsenal started getting forward a bit, like, oh, God, no. Even at 4-0 up, we still weren't sure, because we just suffered years and years of anxiety against Arsenal, them clawing it back. But finally, the icing on the cake, Malbronk to make it 5. Jermaine Genius stepping up in a North London derby, but not for the first time. He loves a North London derby, Jermaine Genius. Got a goal, he opened the score within a minute, I believe, or 2 minutes. Got an assist as well. He was fantastic that day. And everything just came into place, and it ended up in glory for us. That was one of the best North London derbies.
And the atmosphere at White Hart Lane that night was
rocking,
absolutely electric. That was one of the special nights at White Hart Lane, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely rocking that day. Everyone was bouncing. It was like a massive party, just goal after goal against the Arsenal. It doesn't get much better, especially considering we've never beaten them for such a long time. Yeah,
I think actually this game was actually the start of the turning point, because then not long after, the next time we play them at the Emirates, it's Harry Redknapp's first North London derby. And we all know what happened there.
That's true. The 4-4 draw. Lennon! 4-4! Unbelievable game. I remember I was watching that at home. I think you were there at that game.
I was there, yeah.
And
stay till the end.
I remember to be honest, Arsenal were absolutely all over us that game. In all honesty, they deserved to win that game, but we just kept plugging away, kept clawing it back. We kept. Bentley went past 1-0 up and gave us a bit of full sense of security, because we didn't deserve to be. It was out of the blue, that David Bentley volley, which is an unbelievable volley from 45 yards. But somehow George Achillia did it the first time. I don't know how he did that. Funny George. If you see that, go see his goal recreation on our channel. But after that, I think they went 3-1 up. They hit back with 3 goals. Sloppy goals we conceded.
Yeah.
But we just kept out of nothing. We just kept being like a goal out of nothing. It
was the Harry Redknapp factor.
Away. But exactly. Harry Redknapp's second game at Spurs, I believe. And then obviously going into, I think it was 4-2 in the 89th minute, before Genius capitalising on a slip, I think, from Clichy. That was an unbelievable goal by Genius. It was very underrated. He went past like 3 players and curled it in with his left foot from 25 yards. Like, I think it was underrated because no one thought it was going to lead to anything.
I've got a confession to make, because that Genius goal was our third, or our second. It was our
third in the 89th minute.
So I actually walked out, because the Spurs end was completely emptying, and I walked out, and as I walked out, Genius scores. So as Genius scores, I was like, all right, I got to get back in that stadium, and I literally just ran and pushed the steward out of the way and got back in, and like they didn't want to let me in. But I got in, I got back in, and then I see, as I get back in, Modric takes that shot, hits the post, comes back out, and Aaron Lennon is there to send us into absolute delirium. It was
to snatch, and even though it was only a draw, to snatch a draw when Arsenal were 2-0, 2 goals good to the good, with 1 minute to go at the Emirates as well, was very, very sweet, I must say. And I think Wenger was so bitter after that game as well. He was like, "Oh, we were 4 levels above Tottenham. How could they get a draw out of us?"
They were, to be honest, they were,
and they were better than us. But it was just so sweet to see them like just being so bitter after the game and just know they should have won, and they couldn't get over the line. And that was such a sweet moment for the Spurs fans to get one over Arsenal that day, to grab a famous draw.
And the next time we beat them after that was the Danny Rose game, and that was the real turning point. First time we beat them in the Premier League. No one had really heard of this Danny Rose. 1 million we bought him from Leeds United. And he wasn't even good that game. He got hauled off at half-time.
Yeah, I know. He was a surprise starter. He started on the right wing. I remember that we came off
right wing or left wing?
I think he started on the right wing. He was actually cutting inside, if I remember rightly. And because I believe Bale started on the left wing. And I remember we were just off the back of 2 big defeats. Just lost to Sunderland in the Premier League and Portsmouth in the FA Cup semi-final. So the season was really going in a real bad place at that time. And then this North London derby meant a lot because we had to win to keep in the fight for top 4. Arsenal kind of had a semi-title challenge going on. Also added to the fact they had just re-signed Sol Campbell as well.
Yes.
Out of the blue. I think
and
that might be his debut.
We had Arsenal and Chelsea in the space of a week, right?
Exactly. We had Arsenal and Chelsea in the space of the week to keep up with the top 4 race. I'm not sure if we were 5th or 4th at the time. I think we were 4th, just about clinging on to it. Yeah. Man City were hot on our heels. I think...
That's it. We had just lost in the FA Cup semi-final.
And we just lost in the FA Cup to Portsmouth, which is a really embarrassing loss because they were points deducted. They were relegated. Everyone thought we were going to wipe the floor with them. And the Dawson slip in extra time cost us.
Picky on, wasn't it?
Yeah, bloody Freddie Picky on, and then Prince Boateng scored a penalty to rub sort of the wounds. And so everything was leading up to our North London derby. We hadn't beaten Arsenal in the Premier League since 1999. Just before you start,
do you remember outside Wembley after that Portsmouth game? Me and you walking, and we bump into Pater. We see him, and we're just like, we don't even say anything. We're just like Arsenal in a few days.
It was so literally because we knew we hadn't beaten Arsenal in a while. Like surely, like we're not going to beat Arsenal for the first time in the Premier League in like 15 years or whatever it was in this such a crucial game. And the game starts. You see the team sheet, and Danny Rose is starting right wing out of nowhere. His first ever start in the Premier League, and you're thinking, what is going on today? Like. And also, not only that, I believe Palacios got suspended in the FA Cup semi-final, and he was a real key player for us back then. And he got suspended for 2 games because he got his 10th yellow card. So he was out for Arsenal and Chelsea, and you're thinking, how are we going to survive without Wilson Palacios defending the back line? And we, for the first time ever, I think for the first time, we had started Huddleston and Modric in the centre position. I think Modric was more used on the left.
Well, I've got the lineup in front of me, which is actually a very interesting lineup. So it's Gomez, Akoto, Kabul, Dawson, Bale, Huddleston, King, Rose, Modric, Defoe, and Pavlyuchenko.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we had.
So Kabul must have played right back.
Yeah, Kabul was our right back for the second part. We'd signed him in January. We played him right back for the second half of that season. I reckon it was quite good there. Yeah. And
well, if Man City away says anything.
Yeah, it's true. Exactly. You see that the goal there, but it was. We really thought we were going to struggle. How are we going to match Arsenal midfield who had Fabregas, they had Nasri, they had such good technical players, and we thought we had to have someone like Wilson Palacios in there to kind of stop them playing football. But I think Modric, he wasn't a regular starter in centre mid before this game. And after this game, him and Huddleston just completely dominated them in the centre. I remember just playing such good football. And obviously, Danny Rose set the tone after 10 minutes, scoring that volley from absolutely nowhere. Yeah. After Arminia punches that corner out 30 yards from goal, he just somehow whips it. I was right behind that goal that day. And I remember just hugging. I wasn't sitting next to anyone I knew, but I just remember hugging that guy next to me, whoever it was. And I'm just getting absolutely delirious.
And that commentary really sticks in your head, doesn't it?
Yeah, Danny Rose.
Oh, what a goal! goal.
Danny Rose on his Premier League debut.
You know what I mean? Everyone knows that commentary off by heart. But then, you know, after that first half, the second half, Gareth Bale, early on in that second half, scores a great goal. But then it was backs to the wall pretty much.
It really
from
was.
half an hour in.
Yeah, I remember actually Sol Campbell coming back to the lane. That added a bit of spice to the occasion for sure.
He nearly scored.
I think it was his day. It might have been his debut. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I'm not sure if it's debut, but he rattled the crossbar, didn't he?
He did. I remember Bendler scored a goal with 5 minutes to go, and all of a sudden it was everyone had a lot of anxiety about them. And I really believe in that. I think it was in those last 5 minutes, Gomez made 3 absolutely world-class saves.
One from a Van Persie free kick, I remember.
I remember it was one from Van Persie, two from Van Persie, and one from Sol Campbell, tipping Sol Campbell head onto the bar, just saved us by the skin of our teeth. And that was one of those real moments where you thought Gomez was that season one of the best goalkeepers, shot stoppers anyway, in the Premier League. He was so good on his day, the octopus, as they used to call him. Although he had a mistake in him, when moments like that, where you just have pure astonishment how he kept the ball out of the net. So how the hell did he do that? Yeah. And there was 3 moments in that game where he actually ended up getting man of the match. That was how impressive those saves were.
It was an absolutely immense day at the Lane that day. Atmosphere as well, second to none. You just don't get that kind of atmosphere anymore, do you?
No, not absolutely not. And the good feeling that win propelled us into top 4 that season for sure. Absolutely. If it wasn't for that victory, we would not have got top 4. It was still because the season would go such a downhill. It led on to victories against Chelsea and then Man City, and the momentum just flowed from then. And I think that was the birth of Modric in centre mid as well. That game.
And then we all know what happened in the next North London derby in the Premier League. That we played.
Yeah.
3-2 at the Emirates.
Harry Redknapp as well. I think it was he was breaking some hoodoos. We were breaking the hoodoo of the first Premier League win over Arsenal at home, and then we broke the hoodoo away. But it didn't look like it after the first half. It didn't look like that day was going to be a good day for us because we got
trounced on in that first half. Yeah, absolutely trounced on. I don't know how we lifted ourselves for that second half.
We didn't have a kick. I think we made a couple of attacking substitutions at half time, but Shamak and I think Nasri put Arsenal 2-0 up at half time. They were wiping the floor with us. They were really playing so well. And we were kind of wondering how we'd probably just take this one on the chin and go into the next game. Already given up on that game. But somehow I think we put Van der Vaart on the right wing. We brought on Defoe, put him up front. All of a sudden, we had a couple players up front, and we somehow turned it around. Gareth Bale gave us some hope after a lovely setup from Van der Vaart. Made it 2-1, but still we weren't really sure we're going to get back in. And then all of a sudden, with 20 minutes to go, we get a penalty. Van der Vaart free kick. Fabregas with a stupid handball. He's trying to protect his face like the coward he was. I remember bloody Fabregas. And then we get a penalty. Van der Vaart slots it home to make it 2-2. And then the rest is history. With 5 minutes to go, Yunus Kabul, towering header from a Van der Vaart free kick, send the Spurs fans into absolute raptures. And I couldn't believe we're actually going to win it. If our first away win at Arsenal, our first win in the Emirates, what an absolute amazing day that was.
Oh, mate, I can't tell you the emotions, how many times going to Spurs Arsenal games, especially away, and then finally getting a victory over them away from home was absolutely insane. Because I don't know if you remember, well, of course you remember, but going week in, week out into all these away games, I think I must have seen about 2 or 3 away wins for my first 15 years of going to Spurs or something. Because we were awful.
Yeah, because we were not good travellers. We were not good travellers. We had to rely on our home form. Tony have a great story about that game as well. Yeah,
so I literally did not take my phone with me because I know what happens at every North London derby, especially away from home. My phone used to get text after text after text, and that was an early kickoff, I believe. And I think I overslept. Yeah. So my friends met me there, and I drove there, and I found this little car park which had about 4 or 5 cars in it. I was the last one they were going to let in, and I was blocking them all out. So he was like, "Make sure you're here quite early because you're going to be blocking cars in." And I was like, "Yeah, don't worry. We're never going to win anyway." And obviously we win. Stay in the stadium for quite a while celebrating. I got all my colours on and everything, and then I completely forget where it was that I parked. And it's just, there's no like road signs or anything to it because it was just someone's driveway. So I'm just walking through the streets and trying to find this place. Finally, I find it, and I'm very, very late at this point, still with a beaming smile on my face. I walk into this car park with all my colours on, and there's about 6 cars there, all with people waiting outside the car, all with Arsenal shirts and other Arsenal colours of some sort. And I walk into this car park with the biggest smile on my Spurs shirt, and I'm like, enjoy the game, lads. And I get in my car and just drive off.
They must have been boiling piss at you at that point. I'd imagine those Arsenal fans, they probably hated you so much after that game. Well,
I was cracking up the whole way home. I was so funny.
Salty game. There's nothing better.
But there was some not so great games after that. I mean, the one straight after that was a brilliant one at 3-3 at White Hart Lane.
What a game that was.
That was a brilliant game. And I remember me and Grandpa were late to that game, and we missed, I think when we walked in, we were 2-0 down, I believe. It was after 10 minutes, we were 2-0 down.
I think it went 1-0 to Arsenal, then 1-0, then 3-1 to Arsenal.
Yeah, so I
don't know whether it was 2-1 or 3-1 when you
I think we were 2-1 down when I walked in.
I think it was like 2-1 after 10 minutes. I think
yeah, so that was it. That was it, yeah. So I walked in and we were 2-1 down, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Should never have turned up. But yeah, it was a great game in the end. Huddleston scored an absolute belter just before half time to get it back to 3-2.
I remember we had to win that game really to stay within touching distance of Man City. So a draw wasn't quite good enough. But I remember what an absolute game of football that was, end to end, toing and throwing. Everyone, both teams giving as good as they got. And I remember Modric, after making it 3-3 with another Van der Vaart penalty, Modric had an amazing chance to win the game with about 10 minutes to go or 15 minutes to go, and just about Szczesny keeps it out, and it denied us a very famous victory. But Spurs were very, very disappointed. No, it was another comeback from 3-1 down, got back to 3-3. Very impressive, but it was a kind of bit of taste in the mouth in that game, and we didn't end up winning.
Well, yeah, I remember it was very, very feisty affair. And you know, since 2007, Arsenal have only beaten us twice in the Premier League at White Hart Lane or in Tottenham. It's not a bad stat. It shows a bit of our dominance.
2007, that's 12 years.
Yeah.
13 years. So 2 wins. That's pretty good.
They beat us in 2007, and then they beat us in, it was 1-0, I believe, in 2014.
When Rosicky scored.
Yeah.
I remember. But then again, they've probably beaten us a few times at the Emirates.
Well, yeah, we've only won once there ever since it's open.
So it's usually the spoils usually go to the home team.
Yeah.
In this fixture, it shows how much it means to the fans always step up their game in this fixture. It's always a massive, massive game, and both teams. I think Arsenal. It's actually interesting. Ever since we started regularly finishing above Arsenal, you've seen the importance of this game has gone up for them, for the Arsenal
big
fans.
Time,
sure, you can see that as Spurs fans. I think before they used to obviously hate us, and they used to always be a rivalry, but they always used to underestimate us. They always used to kind of take it, but they always used to think this game they were always going to win. And now it's almost as if their season a lot of the time revolves around this game, where they used to be the other way around a lot of the time.
Very, very true.
It's definitely the coin has definitely flipped in that sense, and you can definitely see that the way the Arsenal fans react whenever they beat us is definitely different to how they used to react, for sure.
Definitely. And then there was a game where Kyle Walker was introduced to the Spurs fans.
Yeah,
it wasn't his debut, but it was when he really came to the fore with a brilliant goal as well. Van der Vaart scoring that game, and Aaron Ramsey, he always used to score against us.
He has a very good record against Spurs, doesn't he, Aaron Ramsey? He always seems to pop up with a goal. But yeah, Kyle Walker really announcing himself to the Tottenham fans with a 25-yard strike that day. And I remember that game. That season's very frustrating to remember, because we were so good in the early parts of that season up until February, March. I remember that game thinking, this is proving how much better we are than Arsenal that season.
Yeah.
We were so much better than them, but we somehow let a 13-point lead slip over Arsenal that season, and
2-5-2 losses.
And the 2-5-2 losses hurt also quite a bit, because back then we were definitely having the better of Arsenal. in terms of performing, but we
Such a shame, because we were so much better than them for so many years, but we just couldn't get ourselves over that line.
It was psychological, absolutely psychological back then, because we would build quite decent leads. I remember the season after, we were 7 points above them, like in March, and we still couldn't finish above Arsenal.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember beating them. Bale and Lennon scored 2 goals in 2 minutes, giving us the win that year. And that put us 7 points clear of them. Everyone thinking, okay, Spurs are going to finish above Arsenal finally, but still couldn't get over the line.
What year was that? 2015?
No, the 12-13 season. That season
right.
as well, we did love them. But the 12-13, it was under AVB. Again, we just psychologically couldn't get over the line that season. I don't know what it was, but we definitely had a psychological something hampering in our minds. Every time we would build a lead, we'd let it slip in the league positions. But in the games against Arsenal, especially at home, we would beat them quite comfortably.
Yeah. But then after that game in 2013, they did show a bit of dominance for the next couple of games, taking us out of the FA Cup, beating us the next 2 games, especially that one at White Hart Lane that we mentioned before. But then in 2015...
they beat us 3 times in one season.
But then in 2015, I think we did really start to stamp our proper authority and not lose to them for a while after that. I think we lost away in 2015, but then we didn't lose for a while after that.
I think Pochettino was unbeaten against Arsenal for a while. He was unbeaten from when he took over in 2014 all the way until I think 2017. He was unbeaten.
Yeah, his
first a couple of years, at least 3 years, I think.
Yeah, that first loss for Arsenal was November 2017.
So he didn't lose. He didn't lose to Arsenal for 3 years.
Well, the real thing was the emergence of Harry Kane and how he loved the North London derby goal. The record score in North London derbies now at level with Adebayor on 10 goals. Says it all, really.
Yeah, he's going to break that. He's going to break that for sure. Harry Kane is a North London
wizard,
warrior. I love Harry Kane, North London, because the best thing about it is because they always use this Harry Kane used to be an Arsenal fan stuff, and Harry Kane with an Arsenal show, blah blah blah. But he always turns up against Arsenal. He always ups his game against Arsenal. And more importantly, he always gets a goal against Arsenal every time he plays. It started in that North London derby in 2015 when he got that brace, that header, that beautiful header, so nice to watch. It just curled into the top corner. And that started his run against Arsenal, scoring in every single North London derby
he just got better and better and better as the North London derby went past.
And it's so sweet every time Harry Kane scores, because Harry Kane is the player they hate the most, I'm sure of it. They must hate the sick of the sight of Harry Kane, because we always think he's one of our own, because we claim ownership of him, and they know they have all these pictures of him in Arsenal shirts. They try and get at Spurs fans saying, oh, he's an Arsenal fan, but the fact that he always upped his game against Arsenal was so sweet in that respect, because it really gets to the Arsenal fans how he does that. It really pisses them off so much. It's so sweet. And of recent times, there's usually just been penalties he's been scoring, but he used to score some absolute bangers. Those headers he scored.
We need to talk about that curler. Man, for those, I don't know how long we were ahead for, but for that time, that when that ball hits the back of the net to the time Arsenal score was probably the most electrifying time in that stadium. Going ahead of Arsenal to go top of the league.
There's a twin.
Could life be better?
There's always a sense of disappointment whenever I think back to that game, because Arsenal were on the ropes. We had them. We were 2-1 up. They were down to 10 men as well. And Harry Kane with that curler to put us 2-1 up and Spurs top of the league ahead of Leicester for the time.
One of the best goals White Hart Lane has ever scored. That
he's ever seen. And with his mask as well. He's wearing that mask. He just flings it off to score from that angle, to curl it in off the post from that angle as well, was something absolutely. So special, such a special goal. It was breathtaking. What a goal that was. But such a shame we couldn't go on to win the game, because we would have gone top of the league. Who knows what would have happened? But the fact that we ended up drawing the game, we still had that psychological edge. I think even back then it wasn't broken. And although we ended up finishing third that year, again we had a massive leading ahead of Arsenal in the league. We still again couldn't get over the line to finish above them in the league, and that psychological edge just couldn't be broken until the next season.
I think since then, it's not because of that game or anything. I think since we've moved out of White Hart Lane, I feel that the edge of the North London derby has lost a bit. Do you not agree with that?
I think at home, well, we haven't had a North London derby at home. I think the two home games against Arsenal at Wembley, they didn't have the same energy to them as they did at White Hart Lane, that's for sure. The atmosphere, we all know at Wembley, wasn't the best. It was hard. It
Even
was
the
good,
recent
it was good
ones
in
at the
some
Emirates.
games. I think that 4-2 at Arsenal, that was a great game. You got, although we lost, you got to say the atmosphere that day was actually pretty good. So I don't agree so much on that game, but I think the ones at Wembley maybe didn't have the feistiness as they did at White Hart Lane, that's for sure. You didn't have Arsenal fans running up the high street and running into Greg's hiding. You didn't have that kind of intense atmosphere of. It wasn't that intimidating as intimidating as White Hart Lane for the Arsenal fans to go to. So I think that's what we were looking forward to most as the new derby of White Hart Lane. That intimidating atmosphere hopefully will bring some of that back and intimidate Arsenal fans a bit more.
Bring the
exactly
back.
which they didn't have at Wembley. I think obviously the last one at White Hart Lane was something special. I think we won the game to guarantee our finishing above Arsenal on the day by beating them, to really break that barrier that we had over them. And since then, we've obviously finished above them every season, which just goes to show how psychological it was. Once you do it once, it just gets easier. And we wiped the floor with them that day. They just completely battered them, even though it was just 2-0. We flattered them that scoreline.
One game which could be, I think, is underrated in terms of importance is the last one at Wembley that we played against them when we drew 1-0 when Adebayor missed that penalty. Aubameyang missed that penalty. Because if Aubameyang scores that penalty, they finish above us and get Champions League football.
100%, and they were the better team that day. No, let's not forget. I remember we got a lucky penalty, after, which should have been given offside or whatever. And we weren't at our best at all that day. It was part of that period just after January where we were really form was falling off a cliff a bit. We couldn't string any sort of good performances together, and Arsenal turn up at Wembley, and they actually started playing really well. I think Unai Emery was going for a decent patch at that point.
The small teams raise their game when they come to the big clubs.
Exactly. It was very much that kind of feeling to it, and then we somehow claw it back. It looks like a draw is going to be we're going to have to take it, and then they get a lucky penalty in the last minute. And you're fearing the worst. You're thinking, oh my God, Arsenal are going to beat us at Wembley. But somehow, Aubameyang, Hugo guesses right. Aubameyang, his penalty is tipped wide. Vertonghen as well, tipping the rebound over the bar, which is so vital.
That Vertonghen challenge after that save is so underrated.
What's one of the best challenges you've ever seen?
No one talks about that.
He somehow gets over the bar because Aubameyang's had to tap in the rebound, and Vertonghen somehow gets it. And not only that, also that kind of starts Lloris's string of penalty saves as well, because he's saved a few penalties after that one.
I think he did 3 or 4 in a row after that.
Yeah, after that, and that kind of had momentum. And because of that point, we finished above Arsenal by 1 point as well, which just made all the difference. And it was an actual crucial penalty save, one that saved our season, actually, when you think about it.
Really did.
And it's just so sweet that it was Aubameyang as well, missing that penalty, where Harry Kane has never missed a penalty against Arsenal. He always steps up in the big occasion.
You know what I mean? The Arsenal fans love to compare Aubameyang and Harry Kane all the time. Harry Kane would never bottle it like Aubameyang does in all the big moments. How many times has Aubameyang bottled it for Arsenal? And when it actually matters...
He's always good against the small teams, against he's good at these Europa League battering Rennes, all these stupid teams.
You say that.
He scores hat-tricks against other teams, but when it really matters, he doesn't. He always has a big moment where he bottles it. Always the big games.
You say he's always there for the Europa League, but we even knocked out Olympiacos so Arsenal could play them. And what does Aubameyang do in the last minute? If he misses an open goal from 4 yards.
So sweet. That was so sweet. Oh, man. That was one of the best Europa League games I've ever seen of Olympiacos asking Arsenal. So sweet that we knocked out Olympiacos as well. But yeah, man. I think we've really had the upper hand in the North London derby. I think since since Pochettino came in, I think we've lost to Arsenal twice, but we've had the upper hand. I think most of those North London derbies, we've been the better team.
It's just such a shame in the Pochettino era we didn't get that trophy, because that's all we needed to seal that. You know, North London is stamped and sealed Lily White. I know it's Lily White anyway because they're not even a North London club, but you know, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Even if the season ended right now and it was null and void, we'll still finish above Arsenal. So that's the important thing. So that'll make it 4 years in a row. Yeah. So keep it coming.
Yeah,
we got a while to break their record, but you know, at least 4 in a row is pretty decent going, and you got to give credit to that.
Yeah. Are you worried at all by Arteta and Arsenal at the moment, like for the future?
Look, you got. I wasn't by Emery. I'd said that from the beginning. Emery, I thought was never going to be the right fit for Arsenal. And every time
I remember you said that from the start.
I said it from the start. Emery won't be a good fit, and I'm not worried about them at all. Even I remember early days, a lot of Spurs fans telling me how worried they were, and I was like, no, don't worry about it. We'll be fine. But I got to say, Arteta does worry me a bit. I must say that, because he has fresh ideas. He looks like he has a way of playing. I know we've got Jose, so I still think we have the upper hand in that respect. And I'm not saying I don't think they're the better team, because I still think we're the better team. But in terms of if they make the right signings, I think they could potentially be a team to fear in the coming future. However, I do think Aubameyang's going to leave, so I think that's going to set them back quite a bit. I don't think they're going to be able to hang on to him. I can't see that happening, because I think his contract's going to be up, and I don't think he wants to hang around there. I think he wants to be playing Champions League football. He's wrong side of 30 now. He doesn't have time to waste, so he needs all the best years at the top he can get at the moment, Aubameyang. So I really can't. And also, it's final year they can cash in on him, and given the fact that with the situation with him, the corona and everything, I think he's going to be leaving. So. In that sense, that'll be a big blow to them, because I think Lacazette's his form has fallen off a lot. So that would be concerning for them.
Yeah.
But I think if they can make the right signings, I think Arteta's the kind of... I see a lot of kind of fresh ideas when like Pochettino came and Pep. He just has that vibe about him, unfortunately. And even in games when they've lost, since he's been there, Arsenal, it's always been like their own fault, if you know what I mean. It's like they've played well, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot. Whereas before, under Emery, they were just getting battered every game, and when they won, it was lucky. This time, what I'm seeing is different. This time, I'm seeing when they're losing, even when they're losing, they're kind of playing kind of well, and they're kind of getting unlucky. And that's what worries me a bit. And I fear if they get that Saliba, who they've obviously come in next season, if they improve their defence, they could be someone to fear.
Well, their defence has got a lot better since Arteta's come in anyway, without Saliba.
It's good. It's improved a bit.
Let's not talk about how good of our Arsenal are getting, and concentrate on the greatest memories. But now I want to talk about my first memories of the North London derby, because apparently, when I was 1 year old, Gaza scores that free kick.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a crib, asleep. Dad with his brothers watching it. Everyone jumps up screaming, and then I jump up screaming because I'm a baby and I've just been woken up. And there you go. I get woken up and starts cheering my first Spurs goal of my life.
It's internalised.
Exactly.
Paul Gascoigne, what a free kick.
But I think the first actual memory, proper memory, is when Sol Campbell moved to Arsenal.
That was your first memory of the North London derby?
That's my first proper memory of hating Arsenal.
Oh, man, I grew up with such hatred for them. My blood boils when I think of it. They're like, everything about them is just, I couldn't stand them, the way they cheated. Even though they were playing good football, they found ways to kind of cheat their way through games and just be scum of the earth. I remember even their unbeaten season, they had that Old Trafford where they were assaulting Van Nistelrooy and things like that, and all their players got banned. Bloody Pires was the biggest diver in the world. I couldn't stand Pires. He always used to score against us as well. Henry, that's so arrogant.
I know, it wasn't even for Arsenal, cheats his country to a World Cup, for God's sake.
They were so arrogant as well. All those Arsenal, their fans, all their fans were so arrogant. That's what's so sweet about them right now, them being so bad and them being the worst team and having to take some of it because they were so arrogant when they were on top. They had no class about them, absolutely, like whatsoever. They had no humility. They were like, oh, we're the best, we play the best football. We're just so good. Oh, everyone else is so much worse than us. Oh, we have Wenger. Oh, he's just, oh, he always plays the best football. They were just such snobs, and it pissed me off.
But and it happens every time anything happens. It's like they jump on this bandwagon, Arsenal fans, and no one else can tell them anything other than that. You know, when Emre came to Arsenal, oh, Emre's the best. No one can ever beat Emre. Look at his record at PSG. Yeah. And, you know, you get this whole social media.
Oh, 22 game unbeaten run. 22 game unbeaten run.
Exactly.
Like, look how good he is.
There are so many
all these things.
There are so many examples of it as well. And it's just nuts. You know, Pepe, when he took it past Van Dijk, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my God.
These guys, man, it takes a certain...
They're insufferable. It's because they have so little to celebrate at the moment. They have so little to be arrogant about. They get arrogant about the most stupid things, and it's amazing. And I love it. They get so petty with their arrogance, and it's great. Look how they reacted when they beat us 4-2. They acted like they won the league. They had like title-winning celebrations, and that's because how far they've fallen. And it's with absolutely
their selfies
fantastic.
In the dressing room and all that kind
exactly.
of stuff.
Oh, they are the king of dressing room selfies. They love it. They love to over-celebrate victories. I remember how they celebrated like getting top 4 on the last day, like having their managers chucking up in the air as if they won the league and shit like that. Like they've fallen so far, and it's so great to see because they used to be so arrogant about how good they were. And now they've fallen so far. They get arrogant about stupid things. It's because they can't be arrogant about big things anymore.
But there's nothing like a great shithouse against Arsenal. There is nothing, you know, like Lamela and Wilshere, or Van der Vaart and Wilshere, was it? Yeah. You know, taking it through his legs. There are so many moments like that.
So easy to get under their skin nowadays. It's very easy to get under the Arsenal skin.
They're very fragile.
100%. They remind me of Spurs when they were in the mid-2000s, to be honest, how we used to be.
Yeah.
They're literally morphing into us the more they downgrade.
Yeah, but the only difference is because they were like this kind of club, undefeated and sting, they've still got a kind of entitlement about them, but they're just so bad that they don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I know. They literally don't know how to feel.
Yeah.
And like it's all of a sudden, like they had all this entitlement under Wenger, like, we're just getting top 4, we're just challenging, it's not good enough, we need to be challenging the title. And now they're in a position like they would lick your ass for top 4. Like they would absolutely love top 4, but they don't know how to feel about it because they would just got their best manager ever sacked because he only got top 4. And so now top 4's a dream. And it's like they don't know how to feel.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, and they definitely got the wrong end of the stick there. Although obviously you can argue whether it was the right time for Wenger to go, but they've not done well since Wenger left. That's for sure. And it's just great to see because they hounded out their best ever manager, their legendary manager. They hounded him out in such a disgusting way as well. They did it, protests and all these things, and what they would give to have what Wenger had, even in Wenger's final season, what they would give to be playing like that now.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's the truth. That is the truth. Well, and it's just great to see that lack of class coming back to bite them.
I just hope this kind of gap in the league between us kind of lasts for a long time to come.
And that's what I love about Jose. He hates Arsenal. Yeah. I love that about him. It was one of the things I always loved about him at Chelsea, even though obviously I wasn't his biggest fan at Chelsea. He hated Arsenal. He always had a comment for Arsenal all the time. It was absolutely fantastic. Always had a comment for Wenger. Always had something to say about them. It's always so good whenever he said.
That's the one time I always made sure I watched a Jose pre-match press conference against Arsenal because he always had something good to say.
And that was the one thing which I loved about his appointment is how much he hated the Arsenal. So good.
Well, there you have it. That is our greatest memories or memories of the North London Derby. Let me know in the comment section below what your greatest memories of the North London Derby, or what your greatest memory at all is of the North London Derby. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.